Chapter 1. A frosty morning mist in the edge of a small, quiet village surrounded by tall, whispering pines. A chill filled the early morning air. Frost clung to the windows and leaves, and the world outside was covered in a soft, silvery layer that shimmered with the first light of dawn. A frosty morning mist hung low over the fields, drifting through the trees like a living thing, cool and mysterious. This was no ordinary mist. The village elders often spoke of the magic it carried, the kind that could lead you to hidden places. If you knew how to follow I and the village lived a girl named Mina. She was small, even for her age of 10, which earned her the affectionate nickname, the tiny adventurer from the townsfolk. Her size was never a barrier, though. If anything, it fueled her love for exploring. Mina had big dreams of setting off on grand journeys and discovering new lands, even if her family's farm kept her close to home for now. This morning, Mina sat on her bed, her gaze locked on her frosted window. The mist outside seemed to beckon her, swirling in lazy patterns that reminded her of ancient maps. She longed to go out, but her mother's voice echoed in her mind, warning her to stay indoors on cold days like this. But then something strange happened. As the mist curled along the edges of the glass, a flash of light caught Mina's eye. It wasn't the usual bright white of sunlight reflecting off frost. No, this light was different, warm, glowing almost like gold. She leaned closer to the window, her breath fogging up the glass, and there it was, a golden window gleaming faintly in the distance. Just at the edge of the forest, her heart raced. She had never noticed anything like it before, and that was enough for Mina to decide. Adventure was calling. She grabbed her thick woolen coat, slipped into her boots, and stuffed her backpack with supplies, a sandwich, her water bottle, and her map. She hurried downstairs, where her mother was busy by the hearth. "I'm going out to explore the fields," Mina called out. "Be back before the mist settles too deep, and stay away from the woods," her mother replied without turning around, trusting Mina's usual obedience. But today, Mina had something else in mind. She closed the door behind her and walked into the mist, the golden window gleaming like a beacon in the distance. Chapter 2. The Golden Window. As Mina stepped out into the chilly air, the mist wrapped around her like a blanket of mystery. Every breath she took turned to a soft puff of white, mingling with the magic-laden fog around her. The path through the village was familiar, but the closer she came to the forest, the stranger everything felt. The mist thickened, and the golden glow of the window pulsed brighter, urging her forward. Mina followed, her small footsteps crunching on the frosty ground. The window wasn't in any of the usual places she visited, not in the meadows where she played or the riverbank she liked to skip stones along. And no, this was a part of the forest she had never ventured into before. As she pushed deeper into the woods, the trees grew taller and the mist heavier. Yet the golden light kept shining just ahead. Mina soon realized it wasn't coming from a house or building, but from something floating. The window itself was hovering in the air, framed by ornate golden patterns that seemed to shimmer like sunlight. Mina hesitated for only a moment, her hand reaching out to touch the window. As her fingers brushed its surface, a soft hum filled the air, and the mist around her parted like a curtain. The world beyond the window was unlike anything she had ever seen, a vast expanse of sky, rolling with clouds that shimmered in shades of pink and lavender. And there, floating in the distance, was the most curious thing she had ever laid eyes on, a flying submarine. It glided gracefully through the air, its hull gleaming a metallic blue, with great wings spreading from its sides like a bird of the sea. Mina's eyes widened. The tiny adventurer had found something magical, something extraordinary. Without another thought, she stepped through the golden window. Chapter 3. The Flying Submarine. The moment Mina passed through the window, the air around her shifted. The cold of the frosty morning mist was replaced with a balmy breeze, the sky above filled with floating islands and distant stars that twinkled even though it was day. It was as if she had stepped into an entirely different world, one where the laws of nature were rewritten. Eye on the sky ahead, the flying submarine soared, its metallic surface gleaming under the soft, golden light of this strange realm. Mina stared in awe as the ship flew closer, its massive wings flapping slowly as though it was moving through water rather than air. It looked like an ancient vessel, yet it hovered gracefully above the clouds, its propellers gently spinning. Suddenly, a rope ladder dropped from the submarine's side, unrolling down toward the ground where Mina stood. She hesitated for only a moment before gripping the bottom rung and beginning to climb. Her heart pounded with excitement and nervousness as the ladder swayed beneath her. Up she went, higher and higher, until she finally reached the deck of the ship. The deck was wide and made of dark wood, polished smooth as though the ship had been cared for over many years. At the helm of the submarine stood a tall figure, dressed in a long, flowing coat with brass buttons that gleamed in the sunlight. The captain of the flying submarine turned toward Mina, a broad smile spreading across his face. He had a kind, weathered look, with a twinkle of adventure in his eyes. "Welcome aboard the Windstream," the captain said, bowing slightly. "I'm Captain Fenwick, and I've been expecting you, young adventurer." Mina blinked in surprise. "Expecting me? But how?" The captain chuckled. The golden window only opens for those with hearts ready for adventure. You must have been dreaming of grand journeys, no?" Mina's face brightened, and she nodded. "I've always wanted to explore. But I've never seen anything like this." Captain Fenwick gave her a knowing smile and gestured toward the horizon. "There are many wonders in this world, Mina. The golden window is but one of the many doors to places far beyond your village. And today, you'll be seeing some of them." Mina could hardly believe her ears. "I'm going on an adventure with you?" "That you are," the captain said, steering the ship gently toward a cluster of floating islands in the distance. "But first, let's make sure you're ready. The Windstream isn't just a ship, it's a vessel of discovery. There's more to this submarine than meets the eye." As Mina explored the ship, she quickly realized just how right Captain Fenwick was. The interior of the Windstream was vast, filled with twisting corridors and rooms lined with maps, charts, and strange devices she had never seen before. There were old compasses that glowed with inner light, telescopes that seemed to peer into different worlds, and bookshelves stacked high with ancient, leather-bound journals. But the most curious room of all was at the heart of the ship, a massive chamber filled with bubbles. They floated lazily through the air, their surfaces shimmering in rainbow colors, each one reflecting something different inside. Mina reached out to touch one, and as her fingers brushed its surface, the bubble expanded, growing larger until it was big enough to step inside. "What is this place?" Mina asked, staring in awe. Captain Fenwick appeared beside her, smiling softly. "These are the bubbles of memory and possibility. Each one holds a fragment of a world, a place you can visit if you're brave enough. Some are from the past, some from the future, and others from lands beyond time itself." Mina gazed at the bubbles, her heart racing with excitement. "Can we travel in them?" Fenwick nodded. "Indeed. That's how we'll be navigating our adventure today. We'll follow the bubbles, see where they take us, and uncover the mysteries hidden in the skies." With that, Captain Fenwick waved his hand, and one of the bubbles floated down toward them. It was larger than the others, its surface shimmering with golden light. As it touched the floor, it opened like a doorway, revealing a swirling path of light and air. "Step inside, Mina," the captain said. "This is your first adventure. Where it will lead, I cannot say, but that's the beauty of it." Mina hesitated for only a moment before stepping into the bubble. As soon as she entered, the air around her felt light, as though she was floating on a gentle breeze. The walls of the bubble stretched and shimmered, and then, with a soft whoosh, they lifted off the ground and into the sky. The tiny adventurer was truly on her way. Chapter 4. A World of Flying Bubbles. The bubble carried Mina higher and higher, past the deck of the Windstream, and into the open sky. Below, the floating islands drifted peacefully, their lush forests and sparkling lakes visible in the distance. Above, the sky stretched endlessly, filled with soft clouds and the occasional bird-like creature soaring between them. But what captivated Mina most were the other bubbles. Hundreds, no, thousands, of them floated through the sky, each one shimmering with its own unique color and light. Some were small, barely bigger than a marble, while others were enormous, like great domes in the sky. Inside each bubble, Mina caught glimpses of different places, some filled with towering castles, others with deep oceans, and still others with endless deserts or bustling cities. As Mina floated among the bubbles, she felt a sense of wonder unlike anything she had ever experienced. This was a world of endless possibilities, where every bubble held a new adventure waiting to be explored. "Where will this bubble take me?" she wondered aloud, her voice barely a whisper against the soft breeze. The bubble shimmered in response, and Mina felt a slight pull as it began to drift toward one of the larger bubbles in the distance. The closer they came, the more Mina could see inside. It was a beautiful world, filled with rolling hills of golden grass and a sky that shimmered with pink and orange hues, as though it was caught in a permanent sunset. The bubble gently touched down on one of the hills, and the walls dissolved around her, leaving Mina standing in the warm, golden light of the new world. She took a deep breath, the air smelling sweet and fresh, like honey and flowers. Ahead, in the distance, she saw something glimmering on the horizon. A golden window, much like the one she had seen in her village, was standing on the top of a hill, waiting for her. Mina smiled to herself. This was only the beginning of her adventure. With the windstream, the bubbles, and Captain Fenwick by her side, she knew that every day would bring a new discovery, a new journey into the unknown, and she was ready for whatever came next.